I'm Wes McKinney. I'm a principal architect at Posit and co-founder of Voltron Data. And my talk today was called The Future Roadmap of the Composable Data Stack. So happy to be here in Malaga. It's my first time this far down the coast in Spain. So definitely a really cool vibe and a great group of people here at the conference. Well, I think open source in general has been a bit under assault in recent years as many software vendors with open source projects have shifted to non-open source licenses to protect their IP and enable themselves to continue to sustainably do development on those projects. And this is leading to more forks, like Redis was just forked, and that's definitely a challenge for the ecosystem to continue to build free and open source software projects. But one of the reasons that I'm excited to be with Posit is that they built a really healthy business based around open source data science libraries and making those work for the enterprise. And so I think it is possible to create a virtuous cycle between building free and open source software, making that available and accessible on the internet, and building a business that solves the problems, unlocks the value of those open source projects for businesses. I mean, I think almost all projects across the data ecosystem, they need better documentation, better resources for learning. I think there's a lot of great tools out there. It isn't so easy for people to discover the tools and learn how to use them and put them together. I think there's a lot of books, and people have been writing a lot of books to try to fill that gap. But there's still a lot of work to do there, particularly in the more like cutting edge areas of LLMs and generative AI tools. It's very much the wild west right now. So I think technical communication and content to make these projects more accessible is definitely high impact. I think the reality is that working on the open source data projects is getting more difficult because the nature of the development work needed to innovate and advance is becoming more specialized and a lot more time-consuming and costly. And so it's increasingly, for better or for worse, it's becoming the domain of professional software developers. So for me as an individual, I was able to, in 2009, I was able to make a lot of impact working on pandas as a side project, like on my own time. But that archetype of the solo developer having a huge impact by him or herself is those opportunities are becoming increasingly less common. And so it's important to find the right alignment between business needs so that you can find the right support and funding for the work, but also to be able to have professional software developers work on open source projects. But thankfully, many of the largest companies in the world, like Microsoft, have become really open source friendly and have made open source a big part of how they do business. And so it's never been easier than it is now to get a job where part of your responsibilities is working on open source software. So I think if anyone's interested in finding a way to do open source professionally, there's definitely a lot of opportunities out there. It's been great here. I think the conference is really well organized. The venue's great. The weather's great this time of year in May. In general, just really relaxed vibe. I think everyone at the conference is super nice and curious, like a pretty good wide spectrum of interests and backgrounds. But it's full of data nerds, and always a pleasure to come to Spain. I've spent a lot of time going back to like high school and college in Spain, and so I definitely jumped at the opportunity to come to this conference here. It had been on my radar for several years, but this year was the first year that it worked out and aligned with my schedule. But I think definitely a significant presence from the Spanish developer community here, but also a lot of developers from continental Europe, folks from the United States and elsewhere. So definitely I recommend this conference.